Another question? Yes.
A lot of your observations seem to me to address quantitative issues, how can we get more members in the church, and et cetera. One of the things that we're moving on and moving forward in my church is really raising the expectations of our members, and also the new people that are starting to show up at our church. We've had a lot of growth, good news. Mm-hmm. We have not seen a proportionate increase in attendance and a proportionate increase in participation generally. And what do you see around the country in terms of going to people and saying, you know what, we really want to know, we want you to know what a disciple of Jesus Christ really looks like?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's wonderful, and churches should set high expectations. But the fact is that at any moment, the greatest diversity in any congregation is the various levels of spiritual maturity. And so you've got people just beginning that journey, and you've got people far ahead of any of us on that journey. And so it's a sense, and that's where I find opportunity instead of obligation is good. Provide as many opportunities as possible for people to lift their hands, to take that next step. But also, you may want to have disciple Bible study, but you may need to have Bible 101. Because chances are you've got some folks in the church. Now remember, for the rest of our lives, every day for the rest of our lives, there are going to be fewer people who grew up in the church. And so you're going to have people in your church, you may say about rising expectation, they'll say, well, now you pastor, if you want me to find something in the Bible, you better give me the page number. Because that's about what I know about it. So they need a chance for something that's there. So it's a way, I think it's more of setting an expectation of growth, that you're on a journey and you keep growing, and people are at different places, and so you keep giving lots of opportunities for people to step forward and to keep growing, and so you have high expectations, but you don't make it so legalistic that it makes some feel I'm just not up to that right now. I hope that makes sense. Someone else. Yes, ma'am.
Some examples where you've seen other congregations where they have learned to love their community again, where they fell in love again with where they are, even though it's not where home is in their mind, where home was.
Yeah. Well, so many churches, because so many of our churches have been around a long time, a lot of their communities are very different, and so it's very hard for them to wrap their arms around those communities because they don't understand the folks there. But I shared with a group earlier about meeting a 85-year-old pastor at a clergy event, and he said, I'm pastor of such and such. Immediately I thought, don't they have mandatory retirement here? And this is my associate pastor. So I said, my goodness. And so he said, I'm 85 years old, and the bishop asked me to go to this church for 2 years. He gave me this young fella here, seminary student, to be my associate, make me feel better about it. And so he told about, this was like in November, and he had started there in the summer. And so they went in, and this man had been pastor there 40 years before, but totally different situation. They didn't have any children in the church, but they decided they were going to have a vacation Bible school. And the smart thing about that, having spent some time in that community, they said, if we have a Bible school, we're going to have to take care of the kids from 7:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the afternoon, and we're going to have to at least feed them 2 meals during that day for this to work. And the women of the church got together, came up with the meals for it. They had a wonderful vacation Bible school. They went out, and he was telling me about the people who were still participating in the church, including one family of 6 people. It's that way of trying to wrap your arms around. Or I had some students had been in this McDonald's near a church that had formed earlier out of 3 white churches who had left downtown to and merged, call themselves Trinity, and to kind of still be a white church out where white people live. And then the city moved out, and they were still surrounded by people different from them. And a few years ago, they went through a service of repentance, and they laid a new cornerstone, and they started getting engaged in the community. Well, at this McDonald's that some students I was working with were at, there was this little girl who was in one of their summer programs, and she had on a shirt that had the name of that Trinity United Methodist Church on it. And so there was this older couple who saw that and said, "Do you go to Trinity?" And she said, "No, but they love me anyway." Oh my goodness, you know? And so then the pastor went back and told that story, and Miss Plush Plume, all of them cried, and they gave a lot more money for the next summer to do it. But they're trying somehow. If I were to stop by your neighborhood and saw somebody standing in front of their house or apartment building or something, and I said, "Is that a United Methodist Church over there, or is it just a church over there?" They said, "Yeah." "Tell me about it." What would they say? It would be a good thing to know. Let me say a word about the handouts that you got tonight. One is a sheet of some resources on why attendance matters and clues for improving it. A number of those are free resources, including a video that can be used with your church leaders. The half sheet is something you can use to sign up for Leading Ideals. It's a free online newsletter. It comes out every other Wednesday. That's the most popular thing that the Lewis Center does. And we'd love to have you as a subscriber for that if you'll turn those in. There are some books over here. I'll be happy to sign them. It's much harder for you to return them when there's writing in there. So let's see if there are any questions right here.
You're speaking about the church being in the neighborhood. There are some of our churches who don't have a neighborhood unless you count many neighborhoods scattered all across
That's right.
the county.
That's right.
Speak the word.
Well, and engagement with the community may not just be a physical community. It's with the needs and the interests and the causes of people in the community. I mean, every church has to seek in them who are the people God's given us. Some have a broader reach than others, and it's not it's multiple constituencies. But you already have that in your church as well. You've got multiple constituencies, multiple interests. But the main thing is, if we can start thinking about our churches, not so much inside out, but outside in. I mean, generally churches function inside out. We think of good things to do, and then we try to promote it. We think of what's needed in worship, and then we do it and try to get people to attend. Outside in is where, for any ministry, we begin by saying, Who are the people who are the potential constituents for this? What's on their minds? What are their questions? What are their values? What are their issues? And then out of your own values, your own theology, your own tradition, you do planning, but in a way that's responsive to those things. Okay, thank you very much.